I am going to be breaking down the top 13, yes, the lucky number 13 insights and revelations from my business and life in 2019. And this is going to be depending upon when and where you're listening to this, I'm streaming this live into our free Facebook group, The Scalable Service Provider. I felt that this was kind of a timely content with this being the first week, full week of January 2020 as I'm recording this. And so I thought I wanted to get it out to you as I'm sharing it. But a few weeks from now, you'll see it in the podcast feed and the YouTubes. And so with that being said, before I jump in, I wanted to quickly ask whether you or if you watch on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate a subscribe over there and some comments on any of the posts. Participate. The people that have been participating, super great questions. I'm glad you're finding value in those videos. So you can go over there at Greg Hickman TV, so youtube.com/Greg Hickman TV. You can check that out. And if you're one of those audiophiles and you only listen to audio when you're in the car, that's totally cool too. I would love and appreciate a rating and review in iTunes. Most of the people are consuming stuff on YouTube because I do a lot of drawing on the iPad. But this episode, my friends, is pretty much going to be me just having a candid conversation with you. So I hope you enjoy. And let's dive in. I have 13 lessons, and I'm going to kind of riff on each one of them. And this could be a longer episode. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So the first lesson number 1, and I have them up on my screen over here. So if I'm looking over here, don't worry. Lesson number 1, and revelation. Now, actually, before I jump into number 1, one thing that I've been trying to do more of, and I guess be better at, and I would encourage you to do the same, is that a lot of the insights and the lessons that you learn are going to come from asking better questions. And I'm a firm believer in the notion that questions invite revelations. So as you start to ask better questions, you're going to get bigger and better, more impactful and powerful revelations that can help you guide and navigate, your business and life moving forward. So, that being said, ask questions and always work on asking better and bigger questions. And so I spent the better part of the whole year, as we have been growing and tweaking things and all of that on our side, to just ask better questions. And so a lot of these insights and revelations that I'm sharing with you today have come from a lot of deep work, journaling, asking questions, having really deep and oftentimes uncomfortable conversations with peers and mentors, family members, etc. So that being said, lesson number 1, revelation number 1, your business will never exceed your own capacity as an entrepreneur. Now, this one's been really, really powerful for me because there are things that you need to be able to do as the owner in your business and constantly expanding your own capabilities and capacity that if you're expecting your business to achieve things and go bigger than you can even think or really visualize, you're going to be in trouble because you can hire the greatest talent and you can install the greatest systems. But if you're always getting in your own way as the leader, it's going to be difficult to lead people. You visualize and create these systems that are going to help you become more streamlined. You're going to have to steward the other people in your organization to solve problems and think bigger and not just be tacticians in the business. And while they can be great, many times if your ceiling on what you believe is possible and how you approach your business is capped, which is often an invisible ceiling, your business is going to have a tough time exceeding that, and nearly impossible time exceeding that. So what does that mean? That means you need to spend time on yourself as the owner, thinking time, planning time. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that literally don't spend time thinking about their business because they're too busy in the weeds, in the minutia, and worse, in many of the people in this group, and like myself back in the day, in the weeds of clients' businesses. So much so that you actually never work on your own business. You actually never think bigger than, just having a couple more clients or a specific revenue number. And when you start to, when I look at this for myself, when you're always chasing, say, a specific number, and realistically that number is not even that big in the grand scheme of opportunities, you're only ever going to hit that number, if that makes sense. And so, like, one of my peers mentioned, he's like, you know what? Like, I've been thinking like $1 million CEO, and I've been stuck at a $1 million business for like the last 3 years. And so it's time for me to start thinking and acting like a $10 million CEO for us to break through that barrier. So if you're thinking and acting like, someone who's doing $500,000 and you are stuck and you're not happy and you're probably doing somewhere around $500,000 or below, because you haven't expanded your own capacity to envision what things can be and how you can get bigger and better and more efficient and have more impact and all of that great stuff. And think really just bigger beyond yourself. So when I think of your business will never exceed your own capacity to grow as an entrepreneur, really what that means is the work is never done when it comes down to your own personal development. And this is both in business and in life. And also I've found that this is kind of like a sub piece to this. If you feel friction and resistance in your business growth and you're not hitting those goals, one of the first places to look is your relationships, and specifically your relationship with your spouse, if you have one, or your partner, your family, because it is almost like a pipe, and you can look at your body, your being, your balance, and your business. And I learned this going through the Wake Up Warrior program with Russ Perry. And it's like those are stacked on top of each other: body, being, balance, and business. And if the business is feeling friction, you want to look one step up. And it's likely that there's issues and challenges happening in your relationships. And a perfect example is that, like, and I see this all the time, and I'm very guilty of this, in the past, is that you're like, oh man, my business isn't where I want to be, so I'm going to double down on the business. I'm going to work a little bit more tonight, or I'm going to work the weekend, or when we're supposed to go on vacation soon, but I'm going to do a little work on vacation, and that's robbing your family from their time with you, and is actually creating more problems in your business and more problems in your relationships. So if you actually go one step up the ladder and actually focus on being more present, a better husband or wife or brother, sister, partner, I guarantee you will see the benefit in your business. Also because it creates constraints. So lesson number one, I could talk about this one a lot, clearly, is your business will never exceed your own capacity as an entrepreneur. Lesson number two, if you're in something for the long haul, there is no need to rush, okay? I've watched people burn out like way too early. And the reality is, and as I'm finding, everything that we're trying to do typically takes 2 to 3 times longer than you think. And so, when you buy the 6-week course, or when you do the 90-day program, you're seeing a lot more people roll out 12-month programs now. And it's like, because these things take longer, right? And yes, you can set up some certain things and you can see some wins, but when you're expecting your entire reality to change in an instant, and you're unhappy when something doesn't go well after the first week or the first attempt, I want to challenge you, because I'll have conversations with folks, and I've had people have conversations with me. It's like, hey, so you didn't hit your goals this year. Guess what? Were you planning on shutting down your business after this year anyway? No, you have a vision to keep growing your business and building your business over the next 10, 20 plus years. So get over it and keep going, because it's going to take longer than you probably think. And so if you're in a position where like you're wanting everything right now. And, obviously we live in an on-demand world. I think the abundance of information is very much a problem and a huge obstacle for us as entrepreneurs with the shiny object syndrome. But it's the ability to understand, like, look, you want to take your business from 20K a month to 100K a month. I get it. And you'd love to do it in the next 6 or 12 months. Is it possible? In 6 months, maybe not for most. In 12 months, a lot more likely for a lot of people. There's a lot of variables in that equation. But let's say it took you 2 years to get to 100K a month, or 3 years to get to 100K a month. And in 3 years from now, you could sit there and say, I have a 7-figure plus business. Wouldn't you still be pumped? Right? So the constant grinding, the working the nights and the weekends, like the work is still going to be here tomorrow. And if you're thinking big enough about where you want to take your business and your life and all of these things, like stop chasing the result that you wanted to have happen yesterday, and really start being focused on, where is my business over the next year, 2 years, 3 years. And, I know people now that are talking about, we're planning out our next decade from a vision perspective. Like in the next 10 years, like we can look back at what we've accomplished in 10 years now, many of us, and start to visualize, well, now knowing what we know, the skills and the experiences that we've had to date, imagine now going over the next 10 years with all of that, like you are weaponized. So stop trying to rush when and if you're actually trying to build a business that is going to be sustainable and have longevity and build a legacy. Because guess what? A legacy isn't built in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years. A legacy is built over a lifetime. And so stop rushing. Lesson number 3, growth is always uncomfortable. Always. So if you're in a position right now where you feel very comfortable, I'd argue that you're in trouble. And I wrote a post not too long ago that was inspired by Alex Hormozy, where I talked about like mountain biking or climbing up a mountain. When you increase altitude, it gets harder to breathe, right? Climbing a mountain. I don't know if any of you have ever gone hiking at higher altitude than you're normally living at. It gets harder to breathe. And it's very much like growing a business. As your business gets bigger and you grow and you expand the capacity of yourself as an entrepreneur, like I talked about in lesson 1, guess what? It's going to be harder. You're going to have bigger problems, more challenging problems, probably more riskier problems. The consequences of making wrong decisions at a certain level, like, are going to cost you a lot more money. Like right now, you might make a mistake and it costs $10,000. And to you right now, that might seem a lot. But imagine when your business is doing 3 million and you make a decision and it costs you $500,000, right? Like the stakes will get higher. Growing is going to be uncomfortable. And, if you're in this group and if you're listening to the podcast and watching us on YouTube and you're trying to grow a business and you are in it for the short term and all you're thinking about is like your business running on autopilot without you, like, I know people that are doing 10 million and they're still very actively involved in their business, because guess what? You're an entrepreneur. You love what you do, right? You're going to want to be involved in your business to some degree, obviously. And so like, if you're super comfortable right now, I'd argue that you're definitely not growing and you might not be around for a lot longer. So if you're seeking comfort, I think from an entrepreneurship perspective, you've chosen the wrong profession. And I know for me, like, I've had conversations with my wife where it's like, it always feels like there's like more to be done. And like, when can you take a break? And, I've done a really good job, I think, as of over the last year of like being more integrated. And, when I'm working, I'm working. When I'm not working, I'm not working. I don't really believe in the whole life work balance. It's an integration and you're either all in on one or all in on the other. And the reality is like, I've been thinking about this a lot, and yeah, there's still a lot of pieces of where we're at right now. Like I'm not satisfied with where we're at. And thus in many ways, there's certain things that make me uncomfortable. And that means I'm just growing. And if you're feeling the same way, you're growing. Like, seek more of that. That's going to help you get to the next level. Lesson number 4, the biggest bottleneck and obstacle holding you back can be found by looking for the skills that you currently lack and the areas where you have the largest deficit. I also learned this from kind of this clarity from Alex Hormozy as well, someone I've been following his podcast for a little while now. And the biggest bottleneck and obstacle that's holding you back is tied to a skill that you lack or an area where you have a deficit. And so you need to look at, what are you having trouble doing, or what is maybe hard for you that you need to be doing, but maybe you lack the skill, and go focus on that. And I kind of help our clients and work with our clients, and we do this ourselves, is really look at kind of the 5 core functions of a business, which are lead generation, lead nurture, sales, fulfillment, and kind of retention, resell, and upsell. And we look every quarter, like, where is the biggest bottleneck? And, maybe you say, okay, well, if I talk to 10 leads and I'm closing, 5 to 7 of them, like, likely it's not a sales problem. So if we're not hitting our revenue goals, the next possible place might be, okay, well, does our product suck? Because, like, we're not getting referrals or people aren't getting results. No, we're getting referrals and we're getting results. So, okay, well, if I'm closing, 5 to 7 out of every 10 people, you could probably get away with raising your price and also maybe start focusing on lead generation. Oh, but you don't know how to generate leads. Well, maybe you need to go invest in a course that teaches you Facebook ads and become really good at Facebook ads, and then hire that out to someone so that you understand what you're expecting someone else to do. I truly believe in the who, not the how. But I also think that's dangerous when you don't know anything about the thing that you want the who to be doing. And so I see people like, we need help with ads, so I'm going to go hire a Facebook ads agency. And they don't have any understanding of anything about Facebook ads to even correctly monitor and measure if the agency is doing what they should be doing. And I see a lot of people, and I have in the past, myself included, been guilty of this, is expecting someone else to save it. Save the business, you figure it out. Like, you're the expert, but I don't know enough to lead them or measure them or make sure that, it's a good investment. And so if you feel like, if you want to solve the problem, look for your biggest bottleneck. If you're not growing, it's likely in one of those 5 core functions, and then identify, like, is it a skill? What is the skill within that bucket that you lack? And then your next 90 days should literally be focused on, how do I either acquire that skill or unclear that bottleneck? Which goes into the 5th lesson, which is every problem you have in business, and I would argue life as well, can be fixed with either a person, a process, or a project, and oftentimes it will require a combination of the two. And so again, say you realize that in your bottleneck is in sales, and you realize that you don't even have a sales process. So, okay, well, now we need to create a sales process or document our sales process, which is going to position you to maybe hire someone else to do the sales. But then if you've been doing the sales using your process and it's working, now you actually need to get good at managing a salesperson, right? If you've hired them, and leading a salesperson. It's a different skill, but it's compounding on the sales process that you put in place and the sales skills that you've acquired while going through that process, to then be able to effectively lead and manage someone else doing it. Because just because you can do it doesn't mean somebody else is going to be able to do it. So once you identify where the bottleneck is it a person, a process, or a project, or a combination of those things that are going to, which of those things is going to be the solution? So hopefully that's helpful. Also, if you're watching in the Facebook group and or on YouTube and you can comment, I'd love, a comment, what has been most valuable to you thus far, and I'll do a quick recap at the end. So we are on number 6. The more time you spend planning and thinking, the more freedom you will have. One of the first things that we do with our clients is have them create what we call the optimized week. And it's literally just how are you going to structure and show up each and every week to handle the things in your business and life that need to be handled, that need your attention. Because if you don't fill your calendar, somebody else will. And so when on your week are you handling fulfillment? When are you handling sales activities? When are you spending time with your family or taking care of yourself, doing, self-care or your fitness or whatever? Like if you look at my calendar and most of our clients' calendars, things are blocked out. They're intentional with where their time is being spent. And we've had clients that work with us in the first week or so that say just doing that alone has changed their business because now they're not reactionary. So many service providers and agency owners, like many of you listening and watching, all you're doing is reacting to what happens in your client's business, which never gives you the time to focus on your own. And the second you put a stake in the ground and say, this is when I'm going to solve my client's problems, this is when I'm going to solve my own problems, this is when I'm going to spend time with my family, this is when I'm going to spend time working on myself, and then honoring that, you will see a transformation in your business. And you're going to feel more free. So the structure and I'm going to spend the next 90 minutes. I'm going to spend 90 minutes on Wednesday. I'm going to take off early Friday, and I'm just going to think about my business. I'm going to think about where I want it to go, how I want it to feel. I'm going to journal for a little while. And for those of you that are thinking that is impossible, the second you do it, you will realize that is work. That is work on your business. You taking a walk by yourself, throw on some music, and just thinking, maybe with a notepad or go to a coffee shop, no computer, just a pad, and just think about your business and how can it be better and what are the things you want to do. I promise you will start to see your thinking expand, and your business will start to grow because you're actually focusing on the most important things and giving yourself room to create. And too many of you guys, and oftentimes myself, we get hung up on not just doing, and specifically doing for our clients that we never do for ourselves. So the more time you actually spend on planning and thinking, you will feel more free. Number 7, and this is a shout out to my buddy Yuri Elkaim. He actually shared a similar video like this that kind of inspired me. And he said something that we've been saying in a different way, but I think he actually just said it better. And he said, boring is good for business, but a boring life kills happiness. And so one of our new core values in our business is do the unsexy work. And when it comes to a lot of the things that you need to be doing to grow your business, they're not sexy. They're not chatbots. They're not, the latest shiny object. They are literally like, hey, did you write ad copy today? Did you create content today? Did you check your Facebook ad metrics? Did you get on the sales calls? Did you go out there and lead your market and create attraction assets? Did you fulfill on what you said you were going to fulfill? Like all of these things aren't the sexy things. You want to see about the morning routine of the 7-figure person. And guess what? Half the time, those things are all just fundamentals. And so if you feel like your business is boring, that's probably good. But if your life is boring, then you're probably not going to be happy. And so this goes back to if all you're doing is working and all you're doing is spending your time and even nights and weekends to fix the problems in your business, and you're neglecting your health, your mindset, your family, your friends, your relationships, you will be robbed of some of the best opportunities and best things that you could experience in this life. We live in the most amazing time in the world. And if all you're doing is working, and even if you love working, I love working, guy. I love working on our stuff. I can do it all day, every day, but I would be a hermit crab and I would probably not have a wife or a son. And there'd be I'd be very lonely. Lonelier than being an entrepreneur, which we all know is pretty lonely, especially if you have a remote team. So boring is good for a business. I look at a lot of my peers and the people, my mentors that are doing 7- and 8-figure businesses, and none of them use any of the shiny objects. Most of them aren't using chat bots or messenger bots or, the latest, greatest shiny thing. Like, they wake up early, they do the work, they do what they said they were going to do, they take care of their body, they stop working at a certain time, they hire the right people, they schedule a lot of time to think, they focus on the fundamentals. And the thing is, they never stop doing the fundamentals. So shout out to Yuri on that one. Boring is good for business, but a boring life kills happiness. Number 8, we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. This was something I shared with our clients at our one of our most previous intensives, or more recent intensives. We have clients from our higher level program come into town 3 to 4 times a year for a 2-day workshop intensive. And again, like, as some of the things I've already told you, like, you're going to need to hear them again. It's not going to be the new stuff that's going to, change your life. It's going to be reminded that, oh yeah, I should, actually work out today. It's been a few days. Or, reminded that, yep, I know I need to work out 3 times a week. Like, you need to be reminded more than you need to be taught. It's not the next new greatest thing. I guarantee you that most of you that are out there looking for the silver bullet, the shiny object, the funnel, the 3-step, the 2-step, whatever, you're overlooking so many of the fundamentals that none of those things will even make a difference. You just need to be reminded that you need to have a solution that solves a problem for one person. You need to master one conversion vehicle. You need to focus on getting traffic really through one traffic source up until $1 million a year, and do those things over and over and over and over and over again, and never stop doing them as you continue to expand. So that was 8. We need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. Number 9, great opportunities aren't always the right opportunities. So what I mean by this is, when we work with clients, we're helping them transition their business model. They are service providers that have too many different types of clients. Every project starts from scratch. They do everything one-on-one, and they're not happy. It's the traditional agency model, full service. We do everything, and we help them transform into a more hybrid model where it's like a mix of done for you with coaching and consulting and even training. And as they're making this transition, we see it time and time again, and it happened for us. A prospect comes to you and it's a good amount of money, but deep down you might say, man, like, it doesn't align with where I want to go. It's just money, or it's with a name of an influencer that would be helpful for me. This is the one that has come ring true for me. Like, I get the opportunity to work with some pretty cool people, but oftentimes it doesn't align with my vision. And I have learned to say no to those opportunities, because here's the thing. While it might look good on a web page that you worked with so-and-so, if the ripple effect from that opportunity doesn't actually bring you more of what you want, and hint, it won't, if your vision is different, then you're just going to be attracting more of the things you don't want, and welcoming more opportunities that are going to make it difficult for you to choose the right one. And so just because, hey, you might need some money right now, and you could take a deal for $20K, but if that deal for $20K means you essentially have a full-time job and you can't work on the thing that is actually going to free you from having to work a full-time job, then what are you really doing it for, right? Now, there's an equation and there's a balance and a formula for how to do this right with the intent to transition out. But guess what? As you get better at what you do, as you grow, as your business grows, as you become more successful, you are always going to be presented with opportunities. There will never not be opportunities. But you need to ask yourself, is it the right opportunity? Yeah, it could sound like a great one, but it could also be a great one that totally derails you from where you wanted to go and actually sets you back in the long term. So definitely be monitoring that. And I know that's something that we've had to deal with personally, as well as, a lot of our clients face. And it's just, sometimes it's, we've had clients that have turned down very big deals because they knew it was not in alignment with where they want to go. And while it was hard to make that decision because it was the first time they had to do it, the weight off their shoulders and how much power they feel like they have after doing it is just incredible. It's like they're ready to take on the world. So number 10, it's easy to chase things that you want to want Let me say that again. It's easy to chase things that you want to want. So don't blindly adopt other people's definition or version of success. Once you can, you need to be able to define it yourself is really the point. So the lesson is don't blindly adopt other people's definition of success. Just because someone else has done X, Y, Z doesn't mean you have to, or because you see other people doing it doesn't mean you need to do it that way. And if you don't stop and going back to that thinking time and planning time, if you're not sitting down and actually writing out and articulating what you want your business to look like and feel like, what your team should look like, how you want to sell. I have a friend who she sells a high ticket program over $10,000 and she sells it on autopilot without doing sales calls. If she had just gone into a program where all they teach is how to sell over the phone and she just adopted that, she might have put herself out of alignment with how she likes to work and not found the system that she created herself to sell without having to be on a sales call. And there's some people that love selling from the phone, and it's a great way to close people at a high ticket, high premium type of service and or coaching program. And so the thing is, like, if she just said, "Oh, well, everyone's doing it that way, that's how I have to do it," she would have never come up with her own way that has working for her. And I was guilty of this where, I've been in different coaching programs, masterminds, where, very quickly, it happens subconsciously. It's not even has anything to do with the program you're in. It's you internal, where you say, oh, well, that's what I should be doing because that's what everybody else is doing. And all of a sudden that becomes your definition of what is successful and how it needs to be done. And it's the only way it needs to be done. If that's how you're operating right now, I guarantee you are going to go through a dark period at some point. It's coming when you realize that you were chasing something that wasn't even yours. And again, the example it's a dumb example, but I think it will hit home. Like, you might really say that you're dedicated to having a six pack, right? And when it comes down to it, you're not willing to do the actual things that are required of you to get a six pack, like count your calories and track all your food and do the appropriate amount of exercise. Like, if that's not you and you're not committed to doing that, guess what? The result that you want is likely not going to happen. And so what ends up happening is we want to want things, and then we beat ourselves up for not having the thing that we want, but we have to realize that we actually just wanted to want it. I want a six-pack abs, but I am never going to count calories. I've tried it. I've done it. I'm not successful with it. I don't like it. And I realized that the reason that I wanted it was more for someone else than it was for actually me. As long as I'm healthy, I'm flexible, I can, have longevity and play with my son as he gets older, and I'm not out of shape, I stay fit, that's the important thing to me. And I always come back to that. So we have to make sure we're not chasing things that we want to want because society or the mentor, the latest post we see on Instagram seems like that's what we should want, right? It seems like very easy to get manipulated these days, and not even not manipulated, but just subconsciously start chasing things that we feel like we have to have in order to have certain things. And it's just no bueno. So, that was number 10. 11. We're almost done here. Number 11. This is a shout out to one of my mentors, Brad Martineau from 6th Division. And he said, he said, anxiety, these are back to back from Brad. Anxiety lives in the space between alternatives. Anxiety lives in the space between alternatives. If you are super anxious right now, about something in your business or your life, I would put money on the fact that it's because you're in between a decision. You just have to make the decision. Maybe it's you're looking at two different coaches and you're like, my business has been struggling. It's been struggling for the last year. And it's I could buy this course or I could, get a coach. It's shut the F up and just do one already, because all of that anxiety and that what you feel, all that feeling that is not comfortable and not serving you in any way is because you just won't make a freaking decision. And so you're in between these two alternatives. Okay. And I can tell you from personal experience, it is one of the most uncomfortable places ever, because all you do is get into the spiral of second guessing yourself. And then maybe you add a third alternative and a fourth alternative. And then you go into this, I'm going to review every single alternative that exists. And you just and you fake yourself, you trick yourself into thinking that you are moving forward because you're assessing all of these things. But all you're doing is going in a circle. My buddy James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits, talks about don't confuse motion with action. And so a lot of times we're in motion, but we're in motion like this, reviewing alternatives, like, ooh, let me talk to every single option, but like not willing to make a decision on anything. Action looks like decisions and moving forward and in a specific direction. It's not just going like this. So anxiety lives in the space between alternatives. If you feel that way, you're likely between alternatives, which goes into the next lesson, which is also from Brad. Number 12 is decide ruthlessly and execute humanly. And my example for this comes down to a common one for many entrepreneurs is hiring and firing. You, at some point, if you haven't yet, will be in a position where you have someone on your team and you realize that it's not a good fit. And maybe it's not because of maybe it's because of a skill, maybe it's because of where the business is going and they don't fit in the vision, whatever it is, and you don't fire them. You don't let them go. You just let them hang around. You let them hang around. Because the reality is that the act of firing someone is uncomfortable and hard. Nobody wants to do it. That conversation sucks. And so you don't have it. You try to plug the holes or put Band-Aids on it. And in that specific example, you just need to decide ruthlessly that that is not the right person and then execute humanly. And how that plays out for me is we had multiple times in the last 3-4 years, we've had someone on our team where at some point they weren't in alignment with where we needed to go. They weren't bad people. And sometimes they were actually good at what they were doing. It just, they weren't good at what we needed the next person to do. And we needed that role more. That role would grow the business. And we didn't need more of what they were doing or we actually needed less of what they were doing. So at that point, it's like, oh, well, they're not going to be happy. I don't want to force them into a role that they're not good at, which we've tried, doesn't work. So I said, hey, we got to make this decision. I'll do whatever I can to help you find the next thing. And I reached out to my network and, within a few weeks, she's got a part-time job and she's got tons of sales opportunities to get, get a job. The first one, we found her, her next client. And so to me, that was the execution in a humanly way, but I still had to make the decision and decide ruthlessly. It's like the person's got to go. That's it. Decision's made. Now, when I go to execute on that decision, you can do it in a humanly way. And so those kind of combine together. And so I don't know, again, with what you're feeling anxious about personally, you might, again, have that anxiety. And it's really because you're probably between two alternatives of some sort. You just need to decide ruthlessly which direction you're going and then execute humanly. And number 13, close it out strong, is just simplify. Simplify. I can't tell you how many times my life and my business has gotten better, happier, more fulfilling. We've grown when I've stopped doing stuff and I've simplified. And this has become like a mantra for our business. One of our core values is start simple, get ninja later. And you almost never need to get ninja later because simple actually works. When I look at my peers and mentors that are doing, 7 and 8 figure, high 7 figures, 8 figures, and I'm aspiring to be where they're at. Almost all of them have a way simpler business than I do. And I'm not where they're at. And when I look at agency owners and service providers, and this is obviously who we love to serve, this is where we came from, and this is why we do what we do, we need to just simplify. And it ends up we end up making things way more complex than they have to be. And less is more, and fewer products is more. You will grow faster with fewer products. I know it's counter to what many of you want to think. You need to be able to do the social media. You need to be able to do the Facebook ads. You need to be able to build their website. No, you don't. You could do one thing. Or you can combine a couple of those services to solve a problem that actually hurts businesses and people have pain around, instead of just being labor. Many service providers and agency owners right now are structured in a way where they're really just getting paid as labor, which makes you kind of like a glorified freelancer. And I guess I would bet, and I've talked to some people in the last week, where you actually would just make more money if you just went full time with that business. That one client of yours, or those two clients, like if you just spent more time with them and chose one, you'd be making more money than you were making as an entrepreneur. And I'm not saying to go work for somebody else, but like the point is the more services you have, the more types of clients you try to serve, the harder it is going to be to hit your goals. Especially if you're under, well, first of all, if you're under any goal that you want, if you're at, $250,000 a year in revenue and you want to get to $500,000, stop doing more and focus on certain things. You want to get to a 7 figures, cut out some stuff. I changed my business when I heard Clay Collins say the fastest way to get to a 7-figure business is to focus on the 5 ones. And it's one avatar, one solution, one conversion mechanism, one traffic source, and you do that for 1 year. We did that, and we had our first 6-figure month transitioning out of an agency where we were doing everything for everybody. And in less than 12 months, we went from, maxed out, no capacity, not really enjoying life or business, to hitting our first 6-figure month, working less. Life and business was like less chaotic and more in control. And so you have to simplify. If you serve 5 different types of clients, focus on one. If you sell all of the services, try to focus on one, or like a combination of the 3 that are complementary that actually solve a valuable problem to your clients, and you go all in on solving that. This is essentially what we help our clients do, is make that transition. If you're unaware, if you're new here, transform your traditional done-for-you custom work service business, agency business, into something that is more scalable, more predictable, and doesn't have you working nights and weekends, and gives you your time back and allows you to serve more people with less headache and less energy. And so those are the 13 lessons. It's like simplify. And guess what? The people that are doing 7 figures are asking themselves the same thing. How can I make my business simpler? Okay. Complexity kills. So a quick recap on these 13. If you're just joining, obviously you can go back and watch the replay of this, or the video if you're not attending live. Thank you if you are attending live. Real quick recap. 1, your business will never exceed your own capacity as an entrepreneur. Number 2, if you're in something for the long haul, there's no need to rush, right? You're going to burn out. The reality is it's going to take 2 to 3 times longer than you think it is anyway. So just be in it for the long haul. Number 3, growth is always uncomfortable. If you're super comfortable where you're at right now, you're likely not growing, and you might not be around next year with how fast things are advancing. Okay. Number 4, the biggest bottleneck and the obstacle that's holding you back can be found by looking for the skills that you lack and/or the area across the 5 core functions of a business where you have a deficit: lead generation, lead nurture, sales, fulfillment, and retention. Number 5, every problem you have in business can be fixed with either a person, a process, or a project. Usually it's going to be, or often it'll be, a combination of those things, like a person and a project, or hiring a person to execute on a process that you need to create. That would become a project. Number 6, the more time you spend planning and thinking, the more freedom you will have. Number 7, boring is good for business, but a boring life kills happiness. That's shout out to Yuri on that one. Number 8, we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. We need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. Number 9, great opportunities aren't always the right opportunities. Number 10, it's easy to chase things that you want to want. Be sure that you are the one defining what success looks like, not blindly adopting someone else's definition. Number 11, anxiety lives in the space between alternatives. 12, decide ruthlessly and execute humanly. Those go together. And lastly, number 13, simplify. You're likely making things way more complex than they have to be. Less is more, fewer products is more, fewer services is more, fewer avatars is more. The more that you can simplify, the more that you will grow and feel in control and get your life back and on track. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Comment below if one of these, which one of these meant the most to you, or maybe, hit you right here the most. And if, again, you're new here and you haven't left us a rating and review in iTunes, we would greatly appreciate that. This will show up there. If you're watching this, obviously it's there now. Or if you're watching live in the group, it'll be there soon. And if you haven't been following our videos on YouTube, you can definitely check us out there. And lastly, if you are an agency owner or service provider and you're not satisfied with where you're at right now, and you don't envision growing the traditional agency model where it's, done for you, everything, customization, everything. We do all of the things, full service. And you actually want to launch something that is more leveraged, like a group coaching program or a high ticket consulting program that allows you to have some done for you, but also with some coaching and training. We literally have a step-by-step process that can take you through how to do that and have your first program with those clients, 3 to 5 clients for that new offering in about 90 days. So that's our focus. That's pretty much what we do. And once you have that, we're going to show you how to replace and surpass any done-for-you revenue you have with revenue that is from that new leverage thing that we just launched in the first 90 days. So guess what? In 90 days, we can get you some clients and get the fundamental systems in place. Great. That's a win. But if you really want to, surpass your current revenue and grow something that has, a legacy and impact, plan to be in it for a while. And we have a program for that as well. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, you can either comment below and say, let's go, and I'll privately reach out to you and we'll get a call scheduled. We'll just chat about how we can help. Or you can proactively get a call on our calendar by going to system.ly/apply, answer some questions, pick a time that works for you. And you and I will talk and make sure it's a good fit and go from there. So hope you guys found this valuable. Thanks for the hearts that I'm seeing come in. You guys enjoy the rest of your day and we'll talk soon. If I gave you 5 to 10 new clients, would you or your agency break? If so, your current agency model is broken. I struggled with this too until I found a better way. By adding online programs, training, and coaching to our agency, we doubled profits without adding more hours. If you want to work directly with me and my team to transform your agency, visit myscalablebusiness.com to learn more.